Hello and welcome to my second last video for the Quilling Quarter, my Q&A. So a couple of weeks ago I said I would do a Q&A, so I asked you to ask me anything and got some really interesting questions from YouTube and Instagram and people emailing and texting me, so thank you very much. And what I've done is I've grouped the questions into sort of 5 main categories, so that I'm going to start with general, then quilling itself, then about the artist interviews, then my reflections, and then finally the future of the Quilling Quarter and sort of what's next. So let's dive in. So Prose Robot asks, which came first, chicken or the egg? Great question to start with. My answer to that is the egg. Will Wick asked, what is your planning process to making your videos or quilling pieces, and how do you recover if you make a mistake in the process of making the piece? So this I found to be quite an interesting question. So planning process is quite easy. So I have, this is probably a bit embarrassing, but I have 3 notebooks and they all serve different purposes. So this one is my weekly to-do list. Every week I start the week and I list out all the things I want to achieve for that week, and it's crazy looking back at, when seeing all the things that have been ticked off for that week. It's quite satisfying. So the weekly to-do list is captured there. This one, I listen to a self-help channel and I note down quotes and reflections and just ideas that I want to explore or discuss, and that's what's captured in here. And then this one, I didn't realise it at the time when I started, but this would be my quilling book. So it contains all my sketches, all my planning, cards I've made when I first sketched out my logo. And this has like questions I'm going to ask the artists that I interview and general plans for the Quilling Quarter specifically. So in terms of planning process to make my videos, I know that my videos need to fall into one of 4 categories. So that is kind of already decided. But then in terms of each individual video, each video needs to serve a purpose. So with the how-to videos, the purpose is to show you how I did something. So it's got a start, middle and end, and it makes sense. The reflection videos is an idea that I want to discuss. Interviews are they take a lot more planning. And the book reviews is just like a kind of like an essay. So again, start, middle and end. So that's how I plan the videos. But planning the how-to videos, it's quite interesting because sometimes I make the piece and then I remake it for the video. And so then I have to think about how am I going to capture the shot? How am I going to set it up? But in terms of if I make a mistake in the process of making a piece, I don't think it's arrogance that I'm not being arrogant when I say this, but I don't feel like I've made any mistakes. I just feel like I keep improving. Like I know that I use too much glue and sometimes the glue shows in my work. But aside from that, like what I make at that moment is as best as I can do at the time. And I don't view things as mistakes. Even when I look back at work, I'm like, gosh, I've improved. But I don't see anything as being a mistake. So I don't feel like I need to recover from anything because it's the best I can do at the time, even when I know it's not perfect. Prose Robot, your favourite place you wish you could go or favourite places on your bucket list to go in the future? So I've never been to South America and I would be keen to try there. Ola asks, how do you manage to balance the time required to practice and create quilling pieces with all the time it takes to plan, make and edit your videos and keep your social media platforms up to date? It's almost like you don't sleep. I'll be honest, when I started, I did not realise that the balance of my work would be so skewed towards the video editing and making rather than the art itself. And I find it hilarious that I even thought that I could keep up with 2 videos per week. I don't know what I was thinking. In terms of balancing it, I don't know, like I just I know I want to do about 1 video a week and I just figure out what I need to do. So that's where my weekly to-do list comes in. I know like if I do an 8-minute video, it's going to take me about 8 hours of editing. And because we're still in lockdown here in New South Wales, so it's not like I'm doing anything outside of work. So I always wake up at about 7, or 6:45 or 7, and I usually start work around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I use those hours in the morning to either be editing or make a piece. And then in the evening, I'll always spend probably about 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. And then on the weekend I try and stay reasonably screen free during the day. So I'll do it like an hour or so in the morning and then a couple hours in the evening. But because I'm on a screen all day during the week with my work, I do try and keep it a bit separate. But I don't know, you find pockets of time. Yeah. In terms of keeping my social media platforms up to date, they're not up to date. My focus is on the YouTube videos, and then Instagram facilitates YouTube. I did consider getting a social media manager to help promote my videos and do Instagram better, but I didn't do that in the end. And I know some people, their main focus is Instagram, but mine is to facilitate YouTube. My main focus is YouTube here. Ola also asked if I would ever be tempted to give up my day job and take up crafting full time, or if not, will I keep quilling even though the project has come to an end? I don't know if I would give up my day job. I do enjoy my day job and it's quite fun and I have good colleagues. And to transition to doing crafting full time, it would take a lot to make that step. But I like the idea of what Scott Pape has, where you trapeze from one to the other. So say this is your job, your current job, your day job, and this is crafting online. When you're on a trapeze, you only let go of one when you've got a firm grip on the other. So I might, only if I can get like a decent and reliable income from crafting, I might consider reducing my hours, but I don't think I would give up my day job completely. Yeah, I do enjoy it and I have good colleagues. So, quilling itself. So the serial quiller asked on Instagram what techniques that I love and dislike the most. In terms of the ones I dislike the most, I think fringing, I haven't given it enough of a go, but I just find it's so time consuming and like it's an interesting effect, but I don't know, it's not my favourite technique and it takes a long time just to fringe the paper. But techniques I love the most, I actually like the on edge. I think that is my favourite technique. I like how you can be so expressive with the lines. Yeah, I think on edge is my favourite technique. Leisha asked what is my favourite quilling piece that I've created and why. I couldn't decide on my favourite. I have 14 favourites. The anthurium flower, inspired by the Chinese quilling, the avocado earrings, just because of the story behind them, the gold-edged earrings on the white paper because they shimmer and I really like that effect, the rabbit, fully on edge and really expressive lines. I really like the rabbit. The white daisies and ladybirds, because that was my first piece I ever did on the Quilling Quarter, and I really actually just really like that design. The orchid, because I came up with that. I had a real life orchid and I sketched it and then I came up with the components. I was really proud of the orchid. The Quilling Quarter logo, that is by far and away the biggest piece I've made and I'm just so happy with how it looks. I think it represents this channel nicely. It's got the 4 quarters and it's like quilling on a big scale. I really like that one. The roses that I made, the bunch of roses, I won a competition with the Sydney Quillers. That was quite cool. Yeah, I love that one. The Waratah, this was a challenge I did with my aunt. I think she sewed a Waratah and I quilled one. I was so proud of it. It took me weeks. This was when I was still a beginner quiller. And it took me forever, but I'm just so happy with it. The Q, that's my little subscribe button that you can probably see down the bottom of this corner of the screen. When I came up with the idea for the Quilling Quarter, I had the font that I wanted to use for the Q, and you can tell I'm a beginner with this piece, but I really like it. And then the 3D pieces, like the mushrooms that I made for the Quill November challenge, that was the very first 3D piece I ever made, and I just think they're so cute. The maple leaf, because that's, using the colour gradient, I just think it looks really, really cool. The 3D pieces that I made for the book review, the poodle, the frog, and the angel. And then finally, the piece that I made most recently, the Black Mountain Tower piece. I love it. It just captures home for me. I can't pick from any of those. Those 14 are my favourites and I love them. Will also ask what was my design process for the roses. They're so pretty. I think saw a picture of what a bunch of roses looks like and just laid them up. So the design process, I had an idea in my head. For this one, I didn't actually sketch it out. I just sort of had in my head, there's the stems, a bow, some leaves, and then the roses, like just a normal bunch of flowers. And I just played around with it. Kept on, like before I glued it down, I tried about 3 different arrangements. And then when I found the one that I like, I just glued it that way. And yeah, that was it. Leisha asked, what would I like to quill or create in the future? So I have 2 designs in mind at the moment that I'm going to work on next. One is a design for my partner for our 5th anniversary. And then another one is like, I was going to do a floral design for my mum and put it in a shadow box. Watch this space, follow me on Instagram, and you can hopefully see the final product. Quilled for You says, not a question, just a huge thanks. I've enjoyed all your amazing work. Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And I enjoy your work as well. And I've been inspired by a lot of yours. Ola asked, why do you think quilling isn't more popular given how beautiful and addictive it is? I don't know. I think it's kind of, apparently it was big in the 70s and 80s. A lot more people did quilling back then. I mean, I agree. It's definitely addictive, and it's, you know, I think it's just beautiful. And it's amazing to see all the different artists and how different their pieces are. Like, all of them are so beautiful. Why is it not more popular? The short answer is I don't know. I think it's just it fell out of vogue, but now it's sort of coming back in with the likes of, you know, Yulia Brodskaya, Anne Martin, Cecilia Louis, like really showcasing what can be achieved with quilling. I think it's back on the uptick. Yeah, I think it'll gain popularity, but yeah, I don't know. I've got a couple of questions about the artist interviews. Nancy, you'll have to forgive me because this was translated using Google Translate. I don't actually speak Spanish. So what your question translates as is, from each of the interviews you carried out, what learning did you have as a person? So I think with Leisha, you know, just having a go and just trying things, and, you know, you just can't imagine where things would lead. You know, she'd never done quilling, but she'd always done sort of other types of craft. And of course the vortex coil. For Wendy, I found it really interesting how she found judging a real challenge, like judging quilling competitions, because you have to look at the technique and not judge what you personally do or don't like. Anne Martin, I think how she said that, like, to build up to what she's got now, like, you know, she's published multiple books and she has the All Things Paper blog, that takes time to build up. And you just have to, like, she does it because she loves it. That was really inspiring. Then next we had Cecilia Louis. I think the thing that I learnt with Cecilia was how it took her getting to the point where she was like, okay, now I need to really make this a thing. Like, when she became a craftsy instructor, she'd already been quilling for quite a few years, and then she was like, okay, now I need to take the leap and really go for it. You know, she knows she has the skills, she just needs to keep pushing. And then that's what spurred her to create a YouTube channel, and she's got a massive following now. It is interesting, like, you can have the skills, but sometimes you do need to take a bit of a leap of faith and just go for it, because you don't know where it's going to lead. But not doing it won't lead anywhere. And then with Justine, I just really loved her philosophy and her approach to making art. She said repetitive is meditative, and you don't need patience if you have passion. That is so cool. Like, you know, the amount of work that she puts in is just breathtaking, and the scale of her pieces just blows my mind. The reason why she does it is because she finds it meditative and she's passionate about it. And I just thought that was really cool. So Ola asked, who else from the quilling world would I like to meet or interview? I actually had 2 other artists in mind to interview as part of this project, but both of them didn't quite work. One was Carrie from Tambella Arts. She lives just outside of Brisbane in Queensland, and I had booked 3 times to go to Brisbane to meet with Carrie and interview her. And all 3 times, the borders between New South Wales and Queensland shut. So I tried just after Christmas, tried for Australia Day, and then tried again in July. And every time there was a COVID outbreak, and then the borders shut and I couldn't fly. And so despite my best efforts, I tried 3 times, couldn't get there. I was really disappointed. I hope I do meet you soon, Carrie. And then the other artist was Yulia Brodskaya herself, that, you know, the artist who inspired me from the beginning and who inspired me to start quilling and introduced me to quilling with her amazing work. The timing just didn't work out, unfortunately, and we couldn't meet for an interview. I did have 2 more in mind, but it just couldn't do it, unfortunately. So, reflections and philosophy. So Ola said, in one of your early videos, you said that constraint can be creative and that the pandemic served as a constraint. Do you think you would have pursued this project without the constraint of the pandemic? I know none of us would have wished for the pandemic, but are there any other positives that it has brought you? So, in short, I don't think I would have started this project if it wasn't for COVID. My plan, like I had discovered quilling in 2019 and I'd hosted some classes and I'd done some commissions and I'd made some money from it, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'd also just started Instagram before, I started this channel, and I really loved it. What I wanted from it was to meet people and to be with people. That's what I wanted. And then hilariously, we get a pandemic, which makes that impossible to be with people. I had ideas of hosting quilling nights and doing hens nights, quilling for kids, that sort of thing. And then what happened was 4 months into COVID, I set myself a 60-day challenge. These were the last 60 days of my 20s before I turned 30. And I set myself a challenge to make a 1-minute video every single one of those days for 60 days. And it was literally just a random challenge that I set myself to keep myself sane during lockdown, because we still can't go out anywhere. Couldn't back then either. And interestingly, it was only about a week or two into doing that challenge that I had the idea to start a YouTube channel dedicated to the art of quilling. It was interesting, two things, like firstly how creativity spurs more creativity, like just because I'd set myself this random 60-day challenge on my other YouTube channel to do a 1-minute video every single day for 60 days. And then I was like, I've got the idea now, I want to start a YouTube channel. But the second thing is, I don't think I would have done it if it wasn't for COVID. Like making videos is unbelievably time intensive, and it takes up so much time. And I just don't think I would have been able to commit to a single project like this if life was normal, if I was still doing things and, going into work and going to the office and, catching up with friends and family and seeing people. Like, I just wouldn't have done it. But like, because I'm at home all the time, I've had the time to do it. So yeah. In terms of other positives from the pandemic, there's two, definitely. Our two beautiful cats, Misty and Matchy. We got them at the start of the lockdown last year, and they've just been one of the best things we've ever done, and they're lovely. Ola also said, you said in one of your earlier videos that perfect is the enemy of the good and that done is better than perfect. But where do you think is the balance between being good or / done and being perfect? And as your quilling has improved over the year, has that balance shifted? I found as I get better at quilling that I almost get more impatient with its lack of perfection. So I still think this. Perfect is the enemy of the good. Perfection is an illusion. So this was really brought into focus with one of my favourite YouTubers, Jamie Windsor, and he introduced me to the idea that quantity can lead to quality. So the more you do something, the better and better you get, and you're always sort of like, the more you do, the better you get, but you're never going to be perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. Perfection is an illusion. And so that's kind of why I don't view any of my work as having mistakes. I don't see them as mistakes. I just see them getting better and better. And the more you do things, the more you improve. So I think, like mostly my video editing, because that's what I've been spending so much time on, but also my quilling, my interviewing skills. The more I've done it, the better I've got. None of them are perfect, and that's never going to happen. But I'm always chasing improvement. I'm never chasing perfection because I'm never going to get there. So I think done is better than perfect. Some videos, like I know at the time, I'm not as happy as I could be, like if I spent a little bit more time, but that's literally, I only felt that way about 2 of the videos that I made. I do think perfect is the enemy of the good and done is better than perfect. Always just keep striving for improvement. Don't strive for perfection, just keep doing, keep making. That's my philosophy. Ola also asked, and speaking of artists, we are all spoiled with an infinite array of inspiration online from those who are generous enough to share their work. But where is the line between inspiration and copying? I know you should never copy someone else's work and then sell it, but is it okay to copy a design to use it on a card or a gift for someone? So I don't know where the line is between inspiration and copying exactly. I think if you take a photo of someone's work and then just say that was yours, I think that's pretty blatant copying, and that's not okay. It's not your work. But I think if you see a design and you copy it, you're making it yourself. Like, firstly, it's never going to be exactly the same, but I don't think that there's a problem with that. In my personal opinion, it might be controversial, but I don't see a problem with that because you're always learning and striving. a really interesting thing, there's this other photographer, sort of philosopher, and he sort of said, if all you do is copy, that's all you'll be known for. So if you just blatantly copy someone's work, you're not very interesting. And if you're okay with that, then fine. But eventually it'll sort of become known that you don't do interesting things, you just copy. And so I don't think there's any other way of learning other than copying. Like you always, that's how we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And I think it's so true what Austin Kleon said in his book, Steal Like an Artist. No idea is original. It's just not. We're always being inspired. And as a side note, I have stumbled across some amazing quillers on Instagram, but I don't follow them because they say in their bio, don't copy, and have like a big red X. And so I deliberately don't follow them because I don't want to accidentally see their work and copy it and sort of get in trouble for that. Like, I'm not even a great quilling artist, and some people have copied what I do. And, you know, that's kind of just the way it is. Like, I feel like the act of sharing is the act of giving. And if you really, really didn't want anyone to copy you, you wouldn't share it. I think if you share things, people will be inspired and people will copy. But in terms of where that line is, I don't know exactly. I'm not sure. Yeah, be inspired. You know, we're always going to get inspiration from others, but as you practice, you'll eventually find your own style and you'll have your own mark. But where the line is, I don't know. To sum up, there's a few questions that all kind of centered on the same thing. Alicia asked, what projects are you planning for the future? Wendy asked, is there anything I can do to make you continue your blog beyond September? Please don't stop. Thank you, Wendy. And Martin said, ditto to absolutely everything Wendy said. I'm curious if you think quilling will become a lifelong hobby or if you're ready to dip into a new one. And Candace said, I agree. I wish you would continue. You've been so inspiring. What will your next venture be and where can we carry on following you? And then Orla, you said in one of your inspiration videos that you like to set yourself goals and track your progress through them. So after the Quilling Quarter, what do you think will be your next project? And I can tell you what my next project will be. Starting in November, I will be embarking on the project of learning how to be a mum. So I shall show you. I am about 30 weeks pregnant. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm stopping, at least for now. As I've been recording this, Bub has been kicking quite a lot. It's quite distracting, but I'm getting used to it. So only, another 2 months, 8 weeks to go, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of worked out that how this has all happened, that it was a year-long project. But yeah, and then when we found out we were having a baby, I was like, yep, September will be it. Like, it was always going to be 1 year regardless. But yeah, now it's definitely not going to be extended beyond September. You know, Bub's not arriving until November, so maybe I might do a couple of short videos in October. But like I said, they're very time intensive. They can be quite exhausting. And I know in sort of like the last trimester, you tend to run out of energy. So I don't want to put any pressure on myself. So I've got this video, this Q&A, and then I'm going to do one more video after this, and then that'll be it. And then I'll be embarking on my next project. So in terms of planning for the future of the Quilling Quarter, I'm still going to keep quilling. I love it. Like, you know, I might take up other hobbies, but I think I'll keep quilling. I really have enjoyed it. I love making gifts for people. I love making cards. I love creating new things. And I think without the pressure of making these videos that take so much time, I'll have more time. I mean, obviously I'll be looking after a child at that point, but I'll be able to focus more on the actual making. So I think the place, if you want to keep following me, will be Instagram, because I'll probably keep sharing some of my work there. So I've got this video, and then I've got like one more video after this that I've planned. Like I said, I might do a couple of short videos after that. But I'm hoping to get my blog back in working order, because that has definitely fallen by the wayside, because that also is quite time intensive. So I was thinking of doing a bit more writing there, talk through a few things. Like there was a couple of questions that I didn't answer, and I thought I might give a more full response to some of them, because I really enjoy writing. I find that really cathartic. I have absolutely loved this journey. Thank you so much for submitting questions. Like, pretty much all of them made me really stop and think. Like, there was a really good reflection exercise for me. So thank you for sending the questions. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting future. Still have a few weeks left to go. That's my next big project. I think quilling is a lifelong hobby, but other projects will start to take priority soon. Thank you for watching, for being part of this journey, for submitting questions for this Q&A. I have one more planned video for next week, so I hope you'll watch that one. Thank you for joining me on this journey so far. I really appreciate it. So yeah, take care until next time, and I'll see you in the next one, the last one. Goodbye.